The past can be painful, but it's the past. You are alive today. And what you do today and how you take on the day this is what matters. Because you're in control and the power is within you to make the best of it now, right? Hey everyone, and welcome to the Meant to Thrive podcast. This is episode number 3, How I Overcame My Trauma. The reason I chose this topic is because it's the one most frequently asked to me, and it's kind of a loaded question, so I'm gonna break it down for you. The interesting thing is a lot of people don't believe that you can actually overcome trauma. And those that do believe that you can, believe it takes a long, long, long time. But I kind of had a weird, lucky circumstance for me where I was able to overcome it in less than a week. There's a lot of naysayers out there that are like, heck no, that's impossible. No way you did that. So what I'm going to share with you today is the exact process that I went through to overcome my trauma in less than a week. And it's what I now take people through myself so that they can do the same. I feel it is my moral obligation to share this message and share the hope when I have myself found an answer to my prayers. So therefore, that is why I am sharing. Before I get into it, I do want to explain what overcoming trauma does not mean. Overcoming trauma does not mean that my life is now all of a sudden perfect. What it means is that I've just resolved the emotions that were stored up when I went through my traumatic experience. So, do I still get a little sad thinking about everything that my son's going through and has to go through? Definitely. The only difference is I don't let it run my life. Do I get angry sometimes when I think about all the pain that he has to go through and how unfair it is? Of course I do. The only difference is I don't let it bottle up inside of me and let that anger run my life. Do I still get scared whenever he has something going wrong or that he gets sick or that he has another surgery? Of course I get scared. The only difference is I have literally programmed my mind to handle these emotions with so much stride. It just means that I'm handling everything that's thrown at me differently and in a much better and healthy, safe way. So understand when I tell you that when I say I overcame my trauma, that is all that it means. I'm not going on with my life being like, oh, there's so much happiness and puppies and rainbows and everything's just hunky-dory, because I still do have to deal with so many emotions. For you, if you were presented with the opportunity to also deal with these emotions in a safe, healthy, and quick way, I'm sure you would jump at the opportunity as well. So let's get into it. I'm taking you through the process that helped me live my life again and helped me start thriving. So step 1 was that I changed my perception of the world. I changed my perception of my life. What I mean by that is that I simply stopped thinking that things always happened to me and started thinking that things happen for me. How I did this was I learned how the brain works. I learned how emotions are stored. And the funny thing is if you've ever seen that movie, Inside Out, yes, that's the one. If you've ever seen that movie, it's actually a very real depiction of how memories and emotions are stored, where they have your little control center inside and it's got all the emotions and they're labeling the events that happen and creating it with a color and inputting it in your brain and creating core memories. Those are real. That's actually pretty good depiction. So if you haven't seen Inside Out, you should go check it out, because that is exactly what happens. These external events that happen on the outside, we take them in, we delete, distort, and generalize that information. And then it goes through all these filters and it pops out in this little inside out ball. And this is getting kind of into what I take people through when I teach them on how to change that perception of the world. But in a nutshell, you get this inside out ball, and then it helps become who you are. It helps you create who you are. When I changed my perception of the world, everything changed. my physiology, my state of mind, my behavior. Everything is just different because I understood what actually is going on in my brain. And that was the first step in me realizing that, like I said in the beginning, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And let me just rephrase that for those that are like, what are you talking about? I want to get real with you for a second because there's a lot of horrible, horrible things that happen in our lives. And it's whether we lose a loved one or we have a life-limiting condition or someone we love has a life-limiting condition, or there's these horrible accidents and there's these things we can't control. And it's so, so hard. But what I want to say is, like, when I'm saying it happens for you, all I'm saying is that trial that you're going through, it will help you become stronger. Whether you like it or not, you're going to learn so many things. Yes, it's not fair. I believe that. It's not fair. And it sucks. But this is what I know, and this is what I believe. That you gain many strengths from the trials that you endure. They're not always fair. And it comes down to that crazy question of like, why do bad things happen to good people? And all of these big questions. And I could make more podcast episodes about all that. But the gist of it is that you cannot escape trials and tribulation. You can't. And some people go through horrible things way worse than other people. It's not fair. But what you went through, I know that you are growing from it and you can help others grow from it. You're not alone. You're never alone. There's so many others that you can help with the trial that you've been given. And this is what I love to do, is I love helping women turn their pain into purpose, because it's a healing process. When you learn how to overcome and then you can then help others do the same, it is the best feeling. So change perception of the world. That is step 1. Step 2 is that I actually resolved the emotions that stored during the traumatic events. When you're going through something so horrible and so sad, you do not feel like dealing with anything. You build up anger, fear, sadness, hurt, guilt, and just a whole lot of just emotions. You don't feel like dealing with them, even sometimes for a long time after the event, right? Sometimes it's an ongoing event and it's really, really difficult and hard. But when that event's over and you start to find yourself again, maybe, you may start to realize that you never fully dealt with what happened, even if things are looking a little brighter. When you actually go and resolve these emotions, it's not just a conscious thing. You're working with your conscious and unconscious minds. You're taking the learnings from those stored emotions. Those emotions constantly probably keep coming up in your life, even after the event you experienced was a long time ago, right? Because that's how people develop depression, anxiety, stress. There's so many, right? And it's because we have to really go in and tell our mind what we actually learned. We have to take the learnings. That's the only way to resolve the emotion. Otherwise, it's just sitting there, asking to be dealt with constantly. After I made it home with my son, finally, it was a very, very long inpatient stay with multiple surgeries. After we made it home and I started to find more purpose and started to see how I could turn my pain into purpose, there was still something that I just felt like was off. And a lot of people might think like, oh, well, that's just something that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. But I don't believe that. What I had was a lot of built up anxiety over the health of my son. and worrying if he was going to be awake in the morning. Things like that that kind of constantly were filling my brain, and those worries. I knew that I should not have to live thinking like this and feeling like this. And when I think of my God, I think how he wants us all to be happy. And although these horrible things can happen, I ask, well, if he wants us to be happy, then there's not a reason why I should be having to live with this pain for a long, long, long time. You know, he made it out of the hospital. Now I should be happy. So what am I missing? And when I met my coach who coached me through this exact process that I'm telling you, I was able to completely remove those worries and that anxiety. And now it's like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder. Like I can live again and I can be happy. And you can too, just so you know. You do not have to live with this constant pain. The past can be painful, but it's the past. You are alive today. And what you do today and how you take on the day this is what matters. Because you're in control and the power is within you to make the best of it now, right? After resolving those stored emotions, we move into step 3, where we then can resolve limiting beliefs. Now, what the heck is a limiting belief? A limiting belief could be, for example, something that I had an event in my past that I delete, distort, and generalized and turned into an actual thought or belief that I have. And then it just kind of sticks with me through the rest of however it is until I resolve it. Mostly an unhelpful one because it's limiting. So the belief that I had was limiting me from more potential and seeing the brighter sides of things. For an example, I had one is that I'm not worthy to be in God's presence. Why did I have that belief? I have some ideas, but that's one of mine that I had to resolve. And once I did, then it's like, oh, I feel so much more of God's love and I can pray now, happily pray now, and I can read my scriptures and I can get closer to him because now I feel worthy to be in his presence. You see what I mean? How sometimes it's really hard to find out what these limiting beliefs are, especially until you've resolved those stored emotions from before. Even if you've not even gone through a traumatic experience, we all have them. And it's crazy because it creates who we are. It creates our belief system. It makes us have what morals we have. And whether they serve you or not, up to you. Another limiting belief I had was that I felt like I had to work really, really hard in order to see any type of success. And if I wasn't working really hard, then that meant that I shouldn't be able to attain that success. And you see how that is, once again, a limiting belief. It's something that's holding you back from getting to that next level in life. Lastly, over changing my perception of the world, and then resolving those stored emotions, and then resolving any additional limiting beliefs, that last step is creating a plan of action and really visualizing and seeing the potential of my life. I was able to dream big, bigger than I have ever dreamt before, because I was literally releasing what was holding me back. And that's just such a freeing, amazing feeling, because now I see my worth, I see my potential, and I see what I can help other people do. Creating that plan of action heavily involved visualizing the dream. And when I say the dream, I mean the dream life. Because we all have a dream life, things that we think about for our future and our hopes and what we want to accomplish. I want to tell you right now that it is 100% attainable. Whatever you're thinking of, you can do it. And when I say the power is within you, it's because it literally is. You might just need a guide to help you unleash that true potential. When I went through this whole process, I initially went because I wanted to grow my son's, I call it Mikey's mission, I have a whole plan to spread awareness for congenital heart disease and spread positivity. And when I went for that purpose of trying to grow that. I never realized that I was going to change so much. The process that I went through was one that honestly, I believe everyone should do. It opened up my eyes to see every opportunity and every possibility, which before I was probably very closed off to, because you don't see what's in front of you if you have blinders on. I am so grateful. I feel very lucky. I was seeking out opportunities to resolve the emotions that I knew I just didn't sit right with me. And because I sought that out, I was given a gift. I am so blessed. I feel free. And like I said at the beginning, because I overcame my trauma, doesn't mean I still don't get sad sometimes thinking about my son and his condition. It doesn't mean that I don't get hurt sometimes when somebody says something mean to me. The difference is I just understand how the brain works. Things can't hurt me anymore. Things can't happen to me because I know that it's not happening to me. That's just a perception that I had before. Moral of the story, I know life is hard. I know life sucks sometimes. And I know that you've gone through something very, very horrible and unfair. But I want to tell you that you have the power today. You have the power today to seek more for yourself. Invest in yourself because frankly, you deserve it. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Let me know what you want to hear next. I'm so excited to help you, and I will see you in the next episode.